I'm Sandor Nagyszalanczy, contributing editor for Woodworker's Journal magazine. And in today's video, I'm going to take you through a step-by-step assembly of all the plywood parts that are needed to build my practical and compact little hobby desk that's also featured in the July-August 2014 issue of the magazine. The hobby desk is assembled in several stages, starting with the dividers and shelves that form the inside of the upper cabinet. I use plate joinery biscuits to strengthen the connections between these parts, as well as the other plywood parts that make up the cabinet. I spread glue in all the slots and onto the biscuits themselves before assembling the parts and clamping them together. I check to make sure that all the parts are square to each other before I set this sub-assembly aside to dry. Since I decided to fit my desk with a multi-plug power cord, I now use a Dremel tool to shape the notches that accommodate the 3 lugs on the top of the plug strip. I also use the Dremel tool to create a notch in the divider that will allow me to pass the cord for the plug-in transformer that powers the desk's built-in light. To mount the plug strip, I first attach it with a couple of pieces of adhesive mounting tape. Then I screw on a notched plywood piece that captures and secures the power cord. Now it's time to attach the divider sub-assembly to its lower shelf, once again using glue and biscuits to create strong connections between the parts. I glue on the top of the desk next, carefully aligning its back edge with the back of the dividers before clamping everything together. I then use a yardstick to measure the assembly diagonally. If the distances are equal, the assembly is sure to be square. After a half hour or so, I remove the rubbery glue residue with a sharp plane blade. I now attach the narrow plywood strips that form 2 cubbies I'll use for storing small tools. After putting glue on the edge of each strip, I slip it into place. Then secure it with a pneumatic pin gun that shoots small headless brads. Now I mount my LED light strip to the underside of the desk's top with a pair of screws. After securing the light's on-off switch with a few nail-on clamps, I press its power cord into the groove dadoed into the back edge of the divider. Then I turn on the light to test it. Nice and bright. Now's a good time to apply finish to all of the desk's interior surfaces, using masking tape to keep finish out of the biscuit slots. Final assembly is done in 2 stages. First, I glue the desk's lower shelf and upper assembly to one of the sides. Notice that I've clamped the side to my portable work table to help keep it stable during the assembly process. To keep the parts properly aligned, I put glueless biscuits into the slots on top, then temporarily set the other side of the desk in place before applying the bar clamps. As always, I use scrap wood strips as clamping cauls, both to distribute clamping pressure and to keep the clamp faces from denting the surface of the work. Before gluing on the other side of the hobby desk, the fall front desktop must be set in place. It pivots on hanger bolts that fit into holes drilled in the sides earlier. I use a strip of masking tape to help keep the desktop aligned during assembly. With glue applied and biscuits in place, I carefully slip the side on over the protruding hanger bolt. After making sure all the parts are aligned, I clamp the assembly up just as before and leave it to dry overnight. Now a few details need to be taken care of, like screwing on a pair of rubber bumpers that act as stops for the pivoting desktop. I also tap in a pair of bullet catches that serve to keep the desktop closed. I then use my Dremel tool one more time to form a pair of divots for the spring-loaded bullet catches to engage when the top is shut. I glue on the hobby desk's 1/4-inch plywood back and secure it with my trusty pneumatic pin gun, using a clamp to pull in the sides and keep them straight. This pair of black utility handles, screwed to the sides of the desk, will make it easier to carry. The desk's legs mount to the sides via 1/4-inch carriage bolts, secured by threaded hand screws. These legs can be pivoted up and out of the way for more compact storage. Now that my hobby desk is assembled and finished, I can fold it up and carry it down to my man cave, where I can watch the big game this weekend while working on my latest little project.